Hello, my name is John Svek. Welcome to this All 24 video. Today, Coach Waterman and I are joined by a special guest, Coach Geoff Coventry. He is the offensive coordinator at Immaculata High School in Ottawa. Thanks for being with us, Coach.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Huge honor that you guys even thought of me for this. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate your time, man. Looking forward to getting this breakdown. So Coach is going to break down a play for us. I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here, Coach.
All right, perfect. So basically just going through one of our key plays, or one of the key plays that I really love to run if I have a quarterback who can really stretch the field and a couple of receivers. Before I get into that, I just want to talk about why I run plays like this, just in terms of general information and my offensive philosophy. So basically, for me, it was always the idea of sustaining drives at a high tempo. Back when I played at Bishop's, basically we always talked about running everything at game speed, even if you're making mistakes, 110%, playing fast, but also being aggressive, but at the same time being smart. That's the whole 90-10 situation where 90% of the game is mental at this point and 10% becomes physical. Of course, as an offensive coordinator, you want to limit any penalties and turnovers. So that comes with the having smart players thing, but also putting your players in the best positions possible and situations possible for them, so that they're not creating the opportunities to have those pre-snap or selfish penalties. And the last one is just the opportunity to make big plays. Like, you got to have self-confidence and attack downhill to make those big plays. If you're unsure of your skills and you're not ready to go, then you're not going to be able to attack downhill like that. And everything we do, we're trying to gain chunks of yardage. And I'm not looking at 5 or 6 yards. We're talking 10, 15 yards. And as you guys know, in the 3-down game, we don't have a lot of time or downs to work with. And we have to make plays. We have to gain, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards every play. So that's essentially what I'm looking for in a philosophy.
Okay, Coach, so we have one of your plays queued up here. Could you kind of talk us through this one a little bit?
Yeah, so this is gun 31 Everest. This is not reinventing the wheel. I don't like to pretend like I know everything. I'm a very young coach and a very young offensive coordinator. I picked this play off of Benoit Gru, who was my old offensive coordinator, and you guys know him from his time at Laval. Who then got it to Brent Bailey, and then it was actually kind of refined by Jordan Heather, the quarterback, and actually one of my good friends. Yeah. He's a New Brunswick boy too, East Coaster, so you might like that. But essentially, I love this play because it gives you the opportunity to put a vertical bind on a couple different players, and it's forcing essentially the safety to make a decision, and whatever that decision is, it's wrong. So we essentially just looking at the 31 version of this. The reason I have it in 31, usually I like it in 32, is because in high school, let's be honest, sometimes you don't have the luxury of having 5 good receivers that know what they're doing at all times. So what I would try to do is group 3 of my best receivers to the field side. Essentially what we're trying to do is create a vertical bind with the free safety between Y and W. And as I said before, whatever choice he makes is the wrong choice, and we throw to the opposite. Most times in high school, you'll see a lot of man-to-man coverage. Your better teams will end up in cover 3, but you don't see a lot of match or cover 2 or even cover 4. So essentially what we're telling our W and our Y is it's a sprint. We're really trying to get you downfield vertical, and we want to create a bind on that safety, but also the dime or the halfbacks covering you. So the 2 routes that you see there, I'll start with W. W has what we call a ladder route. So the ladder route essentially goes inside the dime or the halfback, and then gets vertical in the middle of the field at around 10 to 12 yards. And then depending on where the safety is, should he choose to take the vertical Y or to sit, he has the choice of flattening it out like an in route or keeping it vertical. The quarterback can actually hit him from anywhere between 12 to 16 yards, depending on what the safety and the linebackers are doing. But that play is we're usually trying to hit that play at around 14 to 18 yards, depending on where that receiver sits. Now, if the safety decides to stay down with the ladder route, we can take that vertical shot with the Y. Basically, you tell the quarterback to just take his 3-step drop and then just put it on a dart on the hash marks, essentially. And it's a quick throw. If the Y's halfback actually plays off, he can hit him hot. But I don't like to introduce the idea of hot until we've run the play a few times during the year and we understand it quite well. And especially with young quarterbacks. I've got a guy who's going into grade 11 next year. He hasn't seen a lot of senior coverages and stuff like that, so I try to keep it simple for him. His last look on that is if he doesn't really like the W and the Y, is an in route from the Z from 14 to 16. Initially, it's a choice route. It's usually a choice route in the university ranks. You can run it as a fly, you can run it as an in or a fly and die. However, with the high school kids and the receivers that I deal with, I don't really like to give them opportunities to make mistakes, try to limit their mistakes as much as possible. So just keeping it simple, running an in route. Basically, what W and Y have done here is that if they've blown the top off and you don't like the coverage, you can kind of just give it to the Z. And at that point, you have a 14-yard gain. The X kind of sits there by himself, and you're wondering what the heck he's doing over there. Essentially, he is a decoy. He's a clear-out route for our field side concept on the boundary side. However, if we do like that mismatch, if we see that we had a one-on-one mismatch or a really weak corner on that boundary side, we can pick on the X and just run that go route, and we'll tell the quarterback to throw that if we see it coming out into the next series of plays. And if the quarterback is really in a bind, he has his 2 check downs, the running back at the flats, and then the check hook from the fullback. And the fullback shouldn't be releasing unless there are no blitzes.
Yeah, just a couple of things here. Just as you're talking to your quarterbacks and you're reading off the free safety, do you find over time that the free safety sort of stays in the middle, and how do you tell him if he doesn't really sort of move? What do you tell the quarterback to do?
If the free safety sits over top and wants to stay in the middle, I would definitely tell him to stick with his ladder route and to sit flat. I would tell my W receiver to stay flat and not try to hit it vertical. So essentially what you would start to do there is work end to end, ladder to Z. So if he wants to sit in the middle and he does follow the W, you can hit the Z on the in, or if he just sits high in middle, then you hit the W on that flattened out route.
All right, Coach. So we have some video up here. So we're going to just watch a couple reps of this play, and you can let us know what you think.
Perfect. So just looking at it here, we're in a 32 formation. So this is, again, if you have receivers or a combination of many good receivers, you can run it out of a 32. As I didn't get to before, we usually run it with a bang and a go from the boundary side. Or the other combination that you're going to see here is a smash combination, where we have our slot back running a high corner and keeping it vertical, and then our X receiver running a bang route to the outside. So essentially what you're seeing here is McGill versus Bishops in 2013. In this 32 Everest, McGill runs a lot of cover 4. And so what we were trying to do here is exactly what I told you in the 31 concept, is flatten the route. They had a two safety look up top. And so what you'll see is Alexander Fox, our slot back, take it to the other hash mark and then sit himself. And that's exactly where you want the quarterback to throw it. As you can see, Jordan opens up wide. Most of the linebackers are flowing to the field, and that opens up Fox right there. And he's able to make that catch. And then he's just an athlete at this point. And we get a good block from the guy running the corner route, who's Stephen Adekulu. And he gets to put it up for 6. And you'll notice, like I said, we really want to take the top off with our vertical stretch with our Y. And then the Z, usually I like to run the in route in high school. But over here, he runs the fly and die. And that's a combination you can kind of get into once you start to figure it out. He throttles down And Jordan would have thrown that. Usually, if he doesn't like the muddy read up towards the inside, and that would be about you kind of throttle down at 16 to 18 yards.
And coach, that sort of climb route or whatever route name you're calling, where he's coming, number three strong's coming in. There's a little bit of work to do in terms of finding those windows and practicing that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We do that in practice, and I have run it in practice. Staircase, ladder, whatever you want to call it. But you'll notice he has to find his vertical before he can get to the opposite hash. The big thing to note is you must get vertical after you get inside of the defender, or else this play doesn't work. If you get to the other hash too quickly, you're not opening up the window. So this one is going to be in a zip motion. So if you want to get a little fancy with it and start to put motions in, the Z receiver actually ends up inside in kind of a crunch look. And then on the opposite side, they're running that vertical smash concept. So in this case, it's now the Z running the staircase. He doesn't get a chance to get inside, but he influences the safety. And because the safety goes down, the ability for Fox again, now at the Y position, to go vertical, it allows him to use his speed and be an athlete. And Jordan just puts a really good ball out, maybe a little bit earlier if I was critiquing. But again, you get to be an athlete and score another touchdown. This play is awesome because it really has the opportunity for big plays to whoever you throw it to. As you saw, we hit the ladder route. We still went for 6. We hit the vertical stretch, and we still went for 6. And sometimes you hit that fly and die, and you need that 20, 25 yards for another set of downs and better field position.
And coach, I think it's a really good point you made. I think sometimes coaches think you have to come up with a lot of different plays, but sometimes it's just one little switch release there that can make the play appear to be different, but yet get the same teaching points and the same reads for the quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you can dress up a simple play just by adding emotion. You're saying exactly right. Just a zip, like you said, or a whip, or just bringing 22 to 31. Something I really enjoy doing is going from balance to off balance. I find it really creates a new look for the defense, and sometimes they forget how to react to it.
Phenomenal. That's a great breakdown, Coach. We really appreciate you coming on and doing that for us.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Coach.